Shift away from that, and we want to head now to Greensboro, North Carolina. Where happening right now, a memorial service is being held to honor the life and legacy of Major General Joseph McNeil. McNeil, a member of name is, growing up in the High Point Greensboro area, the name has been interchangeable. I've heard Greensboro Four, A&T Four, they represent the university, but those four young men helped ignite the civil rights movement, sit-in movement, when they sat at the segregated Woolworth lunch counter in Greensboro on February 1st, 1960. Major General McNeil passed away last week. Again, here is the service that's being held to honor McNeil. Let's take a listen in.
Recall what brought us here to this special place, and how this special place has called forth the best in all of us. And most importantly, how this place has helped us understand that we have the capacity to change the world around us, even as young people, especially as young people, how we have the capacity to change and be better versions of ourselves if we simply have the faith and courage to follow our convictions, as so many have before. Aggies like the Reverend Jesse Jackson, America's first major black presidential candidate, like Judge Henry Fry, the first black Chief Justice of the North Carolina Supreme Court, like Alexander Ralston, the first black woman to practice law in North Carolina and the state's first elected black judge, like Janice Bryant Howard, the first African-American woman to build and lead a billion-dollar company. And like Major General Joseph A. McNeil Sr., the catalyst for a sit-in protest that would not only change lunch counter policies across the South, but that would spur the passage of the 1964 U.S. Civil Rights Act, bringing justice to Americans, American communities, from Raleigh to Rochester, from Charlotte to Chicago, from Wilmington, all the way out to Washington State, across this great nation. We walk a path of freedom and liberation and truth, cleared by Joseph McNeil and his three brothers in arms. And it is, of course, the passing of General McNeil that brings us together today in this moment of respect and reverence. He left this earth just 1 week ago today, but his presence is still with us, as I expect it will be for years, many generations to come. You know, Shakespeare once wrote, "Some are born great, some achieve greatness, and some have greatness thrust upon them." I do believe General McNeil experienced greatness in all three ways. As a young man born in the Deep South during some of the most tumultuous moments of the Jim Crow era, he might have grown up embittered and cynical. Instead, he believed in the possibility of a different kind of future. He believed in a possibility of liberty. As a teenager experiencing discrimination and bigotry on a daily basis, he might have thrown up his hands in frustration and despair. Instead, he chose to believe that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens that were young people, teenagers, they could change the world. And once that small group, led by him, did exactly that, he might have chosen a quiet life, content to have made his mark. Instead, he chose to serve his country so that liberty might be extended to all others and that they might breathe freely. That, in essence, is the story of Joseph McNeil. So I'm blessed to have met and spent time with him earlier this year at the 65th celebration of the February 1 sit-in. It was cold that day. General McNeil could have stayed home. In fact, many thought he would, as he faced significant health challenges at the time. But he was never one to take the easy way out. He never moved in the direction that fear or discomfort dictated. And so when the day came and nearly 1,000 of us were gathered in the Alumni Event Center, there he was, moving with some assistance and grace, but he was sitting straight, as only a military officer would, with his attention riveted on the proceedings, still focused and in charge. Students, community members, and media around the room stretched their necks to get a glimpse of this man, this living legend. And we all later on braved the winter weather at the February 1 monument to lay a wreath and remember the other members of the four who had already passed, David Richmond and Franklin McCain. But he was right there with his eyes focused intently on the ceremony. No one would have blamed him had he remained at the Alumni Center, but duty called, and he always answered to duty. He never shirked away from that. In the photos from that morning, you can tell he didn't mind the cold at all. In fact, in several of them, he looks ready to stand up and lead the crowd once again in the mile walk to Woolworth, 65 years prior. So our time together was brief that morning, but he left an enormous impression, as only a great person can. Now, he wasn't a giant man in terms of his physical stature. He was about my height, quiet, unassuming, serious, focused. It's almost impossible to look at him based on physical stature and not wonder at the courage he mustered 65 years ago at the age of 17 and the vow he made then that the indignity of everyday life that Black Americans face at the time would not go unchallenged on his watch, not on his watch. Joseph McNeil stood up so that we all could sit down. He spoke up so the rest of us might not suffer in silence. And most importantly, he called upon this great nation to live up to its most prized ideals, ideals of equality, ideals of liberty, and ideals of freedom. And he kept calling until America answered. So on behalf of Aggies everywhere, I extend my deepest sympathies to the McNeil family and to the many others who knew Joseph McNeil better and longer than I did. You know, the great Maya Angelou just once said, "A great soul serves everyone all the time. Great souls never die. They bring us together again and again." He was a great soul. And as we celebrate his life today, a life extraordinarily well lived, I look forward to February 1, 2026, when he, David Richmond, Franklin McCain, Jabril Kazan will bring us all together once again. The light he leaves behind will shine on our paths for generations to come. God bless and Godspeed.
Good afternoon. This is truly the day that the Lord has made, and I am honored to have a moment to celebrate Major General McNeil, who I had the honor of meeting my freshman year at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, and was honored to meet and see him every year and his family, and every celebration that he showed up and stood for what he believed in and inspired all of the students here to do the same. So I am honored to represent all of our amazing alumni across this world. Proclamation honoring the life and legacy of Major General Joseph A. McNeil. Whereas Major General Joseph Alfred McNeil, born on March 25, 1942, in Wilmington, North Carolina, dedicated his life to courage, service, and justice. And whereas, as a 17-year-old freshman at North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, he stood with fellow classmates Franklin McCain, David Richmond, Jabril Kazan, then Ezell Blair Jr., to launch the historic Greensboro sit-in on February 1, 1960, at the Woolworth's lunch counter, an act of peaceful protest that ignited a nationwide movement and laid the foundation for the passage of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And whereas Major General McNeil graduated from North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University in 1963, proudly joining the ranks of its distinguished alumni, and remained a lifelong example of the essence of Aggie pride in service to his alma mater. And whereas, following his time at North Carolina A&T, he distinguished himself through nearly 4 decades of military service in the United States Air Force, rising to the rank of Major General and upholding the highest ideals of duty, honor, and country with unwavering integrity and renowned service. And whereas his legacy lives on through the February 1 monument at North Carolina A&T in the Dudley Circle, within his hometown of Wilmington, where Major General Joseph McNeil Way honors his name, and in the countless lives influenced by his example of integrity and perseverance. And whereas, even in his later years, Major General McNeil continued to honor his alma mater, returning in February 2025 to mark the 65th anniversary of the sit-in movement, where he received a standing ovation for his lifelong commitment to justice and service. And whereas the people of this community, this state, this nation, and our world owe a profound debt of gratitude to Major General McNeil for his leadership, sacrifice, and vision of a more just and equitable society. Now, therefore, be it resolved that we, the Office of Alumni Relations, and the more than 80,000 alumni across this world do hereby honor and celebrate the life and legacy and everlasting contributions of Major General Joseph Alfred McNeil Sr., recognizing him as a proud alumnus of North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University, a trailblazer of civil rights, a distinguished military leader, a standard bearer of moral fortitude whose example will continue to inspire generations to come. Let this proclamation stand as a lasting tribute to his memory, an enduring reminder of his extraordinary impact on our university, our state, our nation, and our world, this 11th day of September 2025. A copy of this proclamation will be presented to the family, and a copy will be given to the North Carolina A&T Archives Department in Bluford Library. In honor of how we do in Aggie Land, I would ask all alumni to please stand, because in Aggie Land, we achieve great goals in everything and produce renowned individuals dedicated to excellence. Let's give one Aggie pride for Major General McNeil. Aggie pride. Thank you.
Thank you. As we move along in the program, we will have some family tributes, and this is the time when we get personal, amen, with the life that was well lived and shared with us. And so we will ask that the members of the family will come in this order: Major General Mitch Mitchell, Joseph McNeil Jr., Franklin McCain Jr., David Richmond Jr., and Jabril Kazan has sent a statement that will be read by Terrence Muhammad. Please come in that order.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
To Ina, Alan, Jackie, and Frank, and Joe Jr. I thank you so very much for allowing me this opportunity to speak and to recognize the contributions that General Joe McNeil made to my life and to our country. A man whose courage changed the course of American history and whose dedication to service exemplified the highest ideals of our nation. It is often debated as to whether leaders are born or made. Regardless of the answer or your opinion, I think we can all agree that General Joe McNeil was a leader, and an outstanding leader at that. His leadership was on full display on February 1st, 1960, when this North Carolina A&T student, along with his 3 comrades and Aggies, marched right into the Woolworth store to the lunch counter and sat down, and that counter was no longer segregated. This pivotal act of courage predated what Congressman John Lewis would later call good trouble. Joe's act of defiance was not reckless rebellion, it was principled leadership, for he understood that progress requires someone willing to stand up, speak out, take action, and accept a certain level of risk when others remain silent. That same moral courage and commitment to doing what was right defined every chapter of his remarkable life. It is often assumed that one who rebels against the injustice of societal norms is not patriotic, or that they don't love their country. Certainly, this assumption was not true in the case of Joe McNeil. For in 1963, with our country embroiled in a war in Southeast Asia, a time when some who are in the highest positions of government today were avoiding military service, the defiant Joe McNeil that had endured being spat on, jeered, threatened, pushed and shoved at the Woolworth lunch counter, was accepting his commission as a second lieutenant in our United States Air Force. Joe and I share many commonalities, significant in my opinion. Among them are that we were both commissioned through ROTC at historically black colleges and universities. He here, of course, at North Carolina A&T, and I at South Carolina State University. Both Joe and I maintained dual careers throughout our professional lives. He with the FAA and the Air Force, I with my airline and the Air Force. A lifestyle that meant lots of time away from our families. Military leave time away from our employers. Numerous military activations. Missed the Little League games, birthdays, anniversaries, and occasions when we arrived home late in the evening after our children went to sleep and departed in the morning before they woke up. It was indeed my privilege to have been present for General McNeil's retirement from the Air Force in 2000, and to have again at that time see Ina, and to have met Jackie and other members of the family. It was my profound honor to have General McNeil come out of retirement to serve as the presiding officer at two of my most significant moments of my own military career. When I was promoted to Brigadier General, Joe was there to administer the oath and welcome me into the general ranks. His presence that day represented not just protocol, but a bridge between generations of military leaders, from a pioneer who helped to change America to those who would carry the torch forward. Years later, when I reached the end of my own military journey, General McNeil again stood with me as he presided as the presiding officer at my retirement ceremony. Having him there to close that chapter of my service was both an honor and a reminder of the continuity of service that binds our military family together across decades and generations. Joe McNeil's legacy reminds us that true leadership is not about position or rank. It is about courage, integrity, and the willingness to stand up for what is right, even when it's difficult. Whether sitting at the lunch counter in 1960 or pinning on General stars decades later, he exemplified the truth that one person acting with conviction and courage can indeed change the world. Thank you.
Aumi Daka Yapi. Hello, my relatives. Chante washte nape chuzapalo. Chante is my heart. Nape is my hand. Nache chuzapalo as I greet you with a hearty handshake. My mother is Hunkpapa Lakota, and my father is African American from Wilmington, North Carolina. And all of my uncles are here, and my aunts and my cousins are here. And the family that we share with A&T, you are my relatives in my father's way, in his life, and his legacy. And I'm going to read to you the obituary of my father. Last week ago, as it was said, and as the general had just spoken, our fathers would leave early in the morning to take their flights on the weekends, often in their jumpsuits or their flight suits. And so last Thursday, after hearing from my mother the night before, from myself, my sister, and my brother Frank, we told them that we're going to be okay. That you did everything you needed to do. That you can leave us, because we knew our relatives were calling to him, because he was watching in the ceiling and he was looking at them because they were looking at him. But he was holding on to hear from Ina May. It's okay, my husband, you can leave now. We're going to be okay. And I would watch my mother say those words to him. It moved a mountain in her heart to do so.
Yeah.
Because those two, nearly 60 years of marriage, of standing side by side, fighting that civil rights fight, wherever they were. And they met in South Dakota, in Rapid City, at a civil rights action for housing discrimination, where they posed as a married couple. They practiced a little bit, I think. And they gained a respect for one another. And my father won over my mother's relatives when she was away on a speaking engagement and came back. And here she found out that something was already working in his favor, because the relatives were already convinced that this young captain in the Air Force Reserves. Wanted to work this out, with my mother. And I came along a few years later. I'm very happy for that, and then my brother Frank. But my sister Jackie was 7 years old when I came along, and she was 5 years old when my father came along. And she was the real test of my father. Jealous because my mother's love for my sister was all hers. And then he came along and tested that. So those two have a very special relationship. And my sister told me a lot about that, and I was very happy to hear it. Because these are the things that bind a family together.
Yeah.
Bringing in different parts of our world that we live with, and it sometimes seems that we may contend with. I guess I'm not reading the obituary anymore. But these are the things that are the challenges of our lives today, or the challenges of our lives yesterday, or the challenges for our grandparents and the parents before them, and centuries ago, when people were forced to, made to, be together to share, or forced to be living on a land and find life, find happiness, find a way to survive, to strive, to make our families continue to the next generation.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing on this stage just reminds me that though we pray to Tunkashila, our grandfather God, and we live with Unchi Maka, our grandmother Earth, we are here in the middle. And we are fortunate to be in this world at this time. Although it seems like it's great tumult, it seemed like that 40 years ago to my father, and 40 years before that to my grandmothers, who raised him to be the way he is, who told him at a young age, you're going to learn, and this is the tools you need to learn. My grandma Pansy, Edna Harris, taught him that at a very young age. And she was a teacher at Williston High School. And my brother Frank and I had the fortune to stay with her on the weekends when we were kids. And that same diligence was there for us that was there for my father. But made him into the person that he was to seek the justice that he found.
That's right.
And continue to work for. As we all know, you just don't have it, and it's there. It has to continue. Now we're here today, and you wonderful opportunity to learn in the same hallowed land, the same hallowed halls that my father and those learned at, because now we are the tools to seek that justice.
Right.
We are the tools to make this family, our family, your family, the family yet to come. We must make this heaven on earth.
That's it.
We must not wait until we pass on to find that heaven.
That's it.
We must make this family and this heaven on earth. My father worked hard, very hard.
Yes.
We didn't see a lot of him. And when we did, he was kind to us. Because my brother and I were energetic. Let me put it that way. We were energetic. I came home and found the house that he had built and the yard that he had in pieces sometimes because we were busy people, my brother and I. And he loved us, and he loved my sister and my older brothers. And we all worked hard. My brother Ron passed away this past April. And he learned from my father, even though they seemed to butt heads, he learned from my father what it was to be a leader. And he made a college at Standing Rock in North Dakota for his people, for our people, Lakota people. And he became the chair. And he asked me to help. So I became a councilman, and now I'm working on projects for our people. But these are the lessons that we watch, and we learn from our parents and our grandparents. So don't take it for granted in this life. While we have our relatives, please speak to them, say hi to them, love them, have coffee, have lunch, have dinner, serve them. Serve them because they served you. And you will serve your children and their grandchildren, and they must learn to respect that and to serve you as well. Because the seasons come and go rather quickly now. We must take this time as we have it today to recognize, like you're doing, and I thank you very much for the honor you bestow on my father. But we must honor ourselves and each other daily. Wopilatanka, with great gratitude. Haumitakiyase, to my relatives and all the relatives that we live with in this earth, those that crawl, those that swim, those that fly, those that grow, those that just be. It's not just us that live here, but we share the spirit in this great, wonderful universe that is our planet, and we must teach that to our children. It's not just us as human beings. We are a part of this world. Our spirit and our Nagi begged to be here at this time, and this is a pivotal time. Don't be afraid.
That's right.
Lean in, Dad would say, and get to work. Thank you.
Joe just was a little short of telling you that he was just flat out bad. So good afternoon. I am Frank McCain Jr., and I'm representing the entire McCain family as we recognize our brother, uncle, and friend, the late Joseph Alfred McNeil Sr. I stand here today with a full heart, one filled with both sadness and gratitude. Sadness because we're laying to rest a giant of a man. Gratitude because I had the privilege of knowing him not only as a historic figure, but as Uncle Joe, a close friend and family member whose love and example touched our lives deeply. On February 1st, 1960, there were four: Blair, McCain, McNeil, and Richmond. Four teenage boys, ordinary college students who did something extraordinary. They walked into Woolworth and sat down at a lunch counter where they were told they did not belong. My father, the late Franklin McCain Sr., was one of them. Joseph McNeil was another, and alongside Ezell Blair Jr. and David Richmond, they changed the course of history. There were four young men, each unique in personality, background, and dreams, but united in courage, conviction, and brotherhood. If you knew them beyond the headlines, you would know that they were not one-dimensional heroes. They laughed, they studied, they argued, and they played a lot of practical jokes. They were sons, brothers, husbands, fathers, and friends. They were determined and driven men who lived full lives beyond February 1st. Uncle Joe was a man of strength and discipline. His military career reflected his deep love of country, even when that country did not love him back. He carried himself with humility, but also with an unshakable belief that he and all of us deserve dignity and respect. For my family, Joe McNeil was not just an historic foursome. He was part of our extended family. He stood by my father in life, and now they stand together again in eternity. I am certain that Uncle Joe, Uncle Hoppergrass, and Daddy are united in heaven, laughing, reminiscing, and perhaps even planning another bold stand or sit-in from heaven. Lord knows we need it too. 2025 is starting to look a whole lot like 1960, if you ask me. As I further reflect on the life of Uncle Joe, I am reminded that he was part of a courageous foursome whose legacy lives on. The sit-in movement was not just a period of time or just their moment of time, but rather our call to action. It should still be our charge for today. It calls us to be vocal when silence is easier. It calls us to promote unity when division is tempting. And it calls us to stand up, to sit down, to speak up, and even shout from the mountaintop against any form of discrimination or inequality that surrounds us. So, Uncle Joe, your work on earth is done, but your legacy lives on in all of us. We thank you, we honor you, we love you, and we thank God for you. Your legacy will never fade. Today, because of you, many of us are able to walk a little taller, sit a little freer, and live with a little more hope. May God bless and keep you, Uncle Joe. Rest well in the company of your brothers. Amen.
I thank each and every one of you here to honor Joseph McNeil. I'm here representing David Richmond Jr., my dad. With deep humility, I am so proud of Joseph McNeil, who has been a part of my life for some 60 years that I can remember. It took me till I became 18 years old and listened to my dad in the back of a classroom at Wake Forest University to truly understand what these gentlemen did. And as I reflected that day, I was like, wow, could I have done that myself? I'm like, no, I couldn't have. And I was so proud of him when he said that. Joe has been like a father figure to me when my dad passed away, as he was one of the first ones to leave this earth of the fearsome four. 40 toes down, they walked through Woolworth and sat down. And they sat there because of the convictions of their parents, that they saw injustices. And I'm so proud of what they had done to give me hope in life. God rest his soul. He has been an inspiration to me. He's like a coach. Every time I would see him, his words are very reflective and inspirational. It's so many words to describe a man like this. Joe was a general. He wore many hats and wore them well. I'll be here all day telling you about all the great things that I felt about this man. And I'm so proud of the